meant the most is that he came into office with a real sense of mission. And I mentioned that mythical 12-year-old kid, but let's make life better for the kids out there.
Children who have decent health care are children who learn better because they go to school well instead of sick.
His whole attitude about children, and that we have to start early, and that children can't learn unless they're healthy, that we have to start providing them with health care even to relate to their educations. You can't sit in a desk and learn, I've heard him say, if your teeth hurt and your head hurts and your stomach is empty.
He certainly didn't have to go out and have an Our Kids First program. That was not expected. He didn't have to go and fight the system to get our educational system in order. But he cares deeply, and those are things that he would go for the least of these. So.
It not only means that working parents don't have to make that choice, but it also is one of the most important steps for a successful welfare reform program.
Our Kids First, we've got more kids that wouldn't be on insurance today, except for what he fought for and pushed through.
But I think it comes back to when you talk about Our Kids First, when you talk about some of the other policies that he's engaged that wouldn't necessarily be characterized as conservative, I think it comes out of I think it comes from that deep sense of obligation.
He's never indicated to me anything other than he wants to help people who are trying to help themselves.
It never became an issue of whether it was going to be a political fight. It became an issue of what was right or wrong. When welfare reform was an important part for Arkansas, he did what he was supposed to do.
We should not, and I pledge to you, we will not accept a second-class education for our children that will doom them to permanent poverty in this state. We will not accept it.
The omnibus education bill that we did in the session of 2003, at the time few people recognized that that was probably the most significant education reform piece of legislation that ever passed in this state.
It's not good enough for us to try and improve education. We must triumph in this effort.
Obviously, education is huge. All the different programs that he started, not just wanting to react to a court order, but really wanting the children of Arkansas to have a better place.
He is not encumbered by a legal education. He often doesn't think like a lawyer, which is to his benefit, because he's not boxed in by a certain amount of thinking, like we can only do something in this type of matrix, and that's all we can do.
The best stretch of highway we traveled in 2,000 miles was in Arkansas.
I don't think anybody else could have gotten the highway program through. In fact, it had failed over several previous years, but he worked hard. He convinced the people of the economic value of having better roads, and it was an overwhelming success.
Traffic is moving safer than it's ever moved. It's not just about the money, folks. It's about the people.
Has he had an impact on the state from a policy standpoint? Clearly he has. I mean, you drive to Memphis, you drive to Fort Smith, you have smooth roads. I mean, that's huge.
Our primary goal is to protect the future of good jobs that pay good money and provide great opportunities for the people of this area.
I believe that he probably doesn't get as much press for this, but his whole bent toward economic development for Arkansas, and his working so hard to try to bring jobs to Arkansas, companies here. I think he's well respected among the CEOs he's met.
He believes in Arkansas and Arkansans, and he loves people, he cares about people, he's compassionate, and that shows in his leadership. So the job training grant, job training, all those things are just natural for him.
I think he's not known as much as he should be for being such a technological governor. He's really pushed technology, especially in a state where we want to preserve our pristine environment, online car tags, hunting and fishing license, a lot of things our citizens can do online that other citizens in other states can't. Getting car tags was an ordeal. I mean, you genuinely had to take a day off from work, and often were so frustrated with all the different processes of what you had to get. And I think the whole car tag system has been amazing.
even things like merging the Department of Health and the Department of Human Services was a difficult bill. A lot of people fought it. It made good sense fiscally, but there was a concern, did it make good sense for the people of the state?
This is not a bill against smokers, and I want to make that very clear. This is a bill for people who, for their own reasons, whether it's health or just personal, choose not to smoke.
It's not saying that you can't smoke. It's not saying that you can't smoke inside your own house. What it is saying is you can't smoke in a place where I'm going to be and force me to have the ill effects of your bad habits.
They were not simply deciding between people's habits. They were deciding between people's lives.
Well, it's a tough fight. It's a real tough battle. It's one that he argued with himself over, about individual rights, about government being the health police.